All right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into this. I think this is something that you should throw into your arsenal. So first and foremost, let me go over what I have on the screen here. So what we have is there's different types of defenses you can call. Obviously, if you have been on my channel, you should know that there's only 6 different shell coverages a defense can run, at least in this game. So you got cover 4 zone, you got 2 zone, you got 2 man, you got cover 0. I always do it in this order. Um, you put a line here, and then you got 3 and you got 1. And I do it in this order because this is a single high safety side and this is the double high safety side. Okay, so I don't care what defense a particular player selects. At the end of the day, it falls under one of these shell coverages, right? It's good to know this because you condense everything down to just 6 different possible shell coverages. And if you understand where to attack cover 2 zone, it doesn't matter what type of cover 2 zone that they run. You at least have a base core principle in knowing where to attack. Now, when they make certain adjustments with that defense, then you can make certain adjustments in your approach in attacking that defense, right? Now, what I want to get at is this over here. These are the different types of ways a defense can be played. So think about this. You got man-to-man defense. What are those? Well, you got cover 2 man, right? And then you have, I should have left that up there. Cover 2 man and cover 1 man are your straight man-to-man defense no matter what, right? Then you have your zones, your like spot drop zones, like cover 3 sky, you know, cover 3 buzz, that sort of thing, cover 3 cloud. Those are your zone coverages, right? Then you have zone coverages that can convert into man-to-man defense. That would be your cover 3 match. So let me do this. Or, cover 4 quarters. And this is your line. Let's say this is the tight end. This is your guy. And then you call cover 3 match. So you have your second defender in right here. You have a corner right here. I'm just going to put another nickel here. Let's say you call dime cover 3 match, and then you have your corner here. So the play art will have it shown as this guy going, deep third, this guy going like curl flat, this guy going curl flat, and this guy going deep zone. But when you call cover 3 match, it's a zone that can convert into playing man-to-man coverage based upon what the defense does. I have videos for this, so I'm not going to go into deep detail about that. I want to get into what I want to get into. So like for instance, if this guy goes vertical, then this defender here will not play a curl flat zone. He will just convert into playing man-to-man coverage. Essentially what it does is it converts into cover 1 man at a certain point. Your deep middle safety will still do what he does. Let's say this guy goes underneath on a drag route. Well, then he won't play man-to-man coverage with them on that particular route, right? So that's the difference is when you call like cover 3 match, there are instances where like I already gave the example. If this guy goes vertical, then you take him man-to-man. If he were to run underneath and inside, then you wouldn't play man. You would have other responsibilities. If you want to know more about that, then go check out the videos for that. So is that it? Is that the only, you could play straight man-to-man, you could play straight zone, or you could play zone that can convert into man. Is that the only type of different defenses? Of course not. We're missing something very important here. And no, it's not in the game. But I'm going to show you something that you can kind of halfway implement it in the game, at least some of the concepts of it. And let's go ahead and get into the game that I had against a guy online to show you what I did. So here's one thing you may not know about this. I didn't even know that this was in the game until maybe 3 weeks ago, right? And that's where you can make your auto alignment. You could change it into base, okay? And what that it's good for is because it disguises your coverage, right? Now everything has a weakness, right? So it's not like you can do something that has 100% strengths but it has no weaknesses. If there was something like that, then that would be imbalanced. If it was in the game of Madden, then that would mean that Madden doesn't have it coded right because there's nothing that you can do that has no weaknesses. So the weaknesses of calling base, you see how I called 2 man? If I didn't have base called, then they would be on the line of scrimmage playing inside leverage. That would be the pre-snap read of cover 2 man. But since I selected base, they align in their base alignment. So they will not be on the line of scrimmage playing inside leverage. So there's no way for this user to tell or pre-snap read that we're playing cover 2 man. Now, what's the weaknesses of that? Well, you can already see in regular 2 man, just look at this guy here. Where would he be in regular 2 man if there was no base alignment call? He would be here on the line of scrimmage, inside leverage. This guy would be here, right? So the problem with this is if this guy were to run like an out route, he would be out leveraged on that route badly, right? Same thing with this guy. If he were to run like a deep out, this guy would be out leveraged on that route badly because he's aligned inside. And they would get free releases off the line of scrimmage, right? Because in 2 man, you're going to press them at the line of scrimmage. You're going to play aggressive and inside leverage because you have help over the top, right? So those are the weaknesses of base aligning. When you disguise coverage, the weakness is you can get caught out of position because there's a purpose for why you align a certain way when playing certain defenses, okay? So anyways, I'm not going to go over why I decided to base align call with this guy, but let's just go with it. This is what I chose to do, and I want you to watch what he does. So he comes out and trips tight end flex. And this is the first drive, and I'm playing on defense against this guy. So everything's what do you call it? This is an assessment on how he plays. Your first drive against someone, you should really be trying to figure out what they do, how they adjust to what you're doing, and etc. You're gathering information on what he likes to do. So we see he's in trips tight end flex. He obviously audibled into something. What does that immediately tell me? That tells me when he sees this alignment, there's something that he saw that made him more comfortable in checking out of whatever he called into what he just called. So let's go ahead and run it. So I'm the user here. I know I'm man-to-man with him. Okay, also I took this safety over here and I put him in hook curl. I thought it was needless for him to play deep half over here with just a tight end here. So at the snap of the ball, I know I'm man-to-man with him. And watch what happens. Okay, there's the problem, right? You saw how he ran the corner out. So on that particular instance, he ran a corner, and I think this guy stayed underneath, and I think he ran like a clear out route. But since we were inside man-to-man with this guy, he was able to get open on that route. Okay, so later on, I think this is a little bit later on the same drive, we see that now he has a play where he motions the number 2 inside, and then he runs that little slant route. Okay. So right off the bat, I have information. I know that when he stays in trips tight end flex and he stays in that call, he doesn't motion. I think he does it again here. Watch. I want you to watch it. Watch this guy here. I think this is one of the plays. I decided to use it as safety there. And he ran that corner route again. And again, if we go back, I'll go ahead and go back. This guy is man-to-man with him, and he's man-to-man with him. Again, this is weakness of base align. They're out-leveraged on any outside breaking routes. So he's going to run that corner route, and he's going to be pretty much uncontested on that route. And there you go. So now we know what he likes to do. So look at this. Later on in the game, we're down 10-14. Okay, I won this game. I'll just go ahead and throw that in there. Same formation. I give him the same look. And you'll see me mess up the screen. I know you've done this before and it pisses me off. But I can't believe it did it at this time. You'll see me get an interception. So that will further prove I didn't have to do anything user-wise. It was the scheme that I developed here. So let's go ahead and watch what happens. Intercepted. What happened? Watch it again. And I was pissed because the screen did that. I was like, oh, no, no, no. And then I'm like, well, it is what it is. I'm going to stay on the safety here and try to play it the way it is. But he's going to run the corner out. I believe this guy ran the clear out route, and this guy stayed underneath. And you see we got an interception. We called pretty much the same call. And I want to show you what I did. So when this happened, I'm like, great. I know I'm recording. At least I can show this. I was hoping that he would finish the game and not quit, and I would be able to get to my highlights, and I was able to do that. So we're going to show this in replay on the highlights after the game, after I won, of course. Just had to throw that in there. So here it is. This is man-to-man defense. But did you see what happened there? So this is, I'm going to tell you what happened. Remember how we were here and I said we're missing something? You got straight man-to-man. You got straight zone. You got zone that can match in the man. Why don't we have man that can match certain routes in man-to-man coverage? Right? You may think, what the hell is that? Well, that sounds very interesting, right? Well, Nick Saban, I believe he has certain calls that you can make to where we're going to call, this is, you call man-to-man coverage, we're playing man-to-man. We call zone, you're playing zone. When we call a zone match play, like cover 3 match or cover 4 palms against a bunch set, you're calling a zone call, so to speak, but it can match into man based upon what they do. Against a bunch while playing cover 4, it's going to match every single time. But against cover 3 match, there's no guarantee that you're going to play man-to-man. It depends on what they do. This is different because this is calling a man-to-man defense that will change what you're supposed to do based upon the routes being run by the defense and by the offense. If it were up to me, this isn't in the game. I wanted to let you know it's not in the game. Okay? No surprise there. It's not in the game, guys. Okay? Madden is garbage. And anyone who says Madden isn't garbage, I don't even know what to say to you, right? But this is kind of what I did on that play, so to speak. I mean, we're missing an entire angle of it. So let me show you what I did. Okay. So I believe I had cover 1 man called. So you're deep middle. You're like the robber, right? And then you're man-to-man. You see how he's inside leverage like that? And then you're man-to-man with him. And then this guy's man-to-man with him. Well, what a man-to-man match into man can be is, I'll make another video on that because I don't want to go into detail about that. But what if we can do something to where, hey, you're matched man-to-man with him, but I want you to keep your eyes on the number 3. He's 1, he's 2, he's 3 offensively. If number 3 were to run an out pattern, then I want you to not play man with this guy anymore. You're going to leak off of him and man up that out route. And in that instance, maybe the safety over the top will take your player who's going up the field, right? We called a man-to-man defense, but we tagged it with the word to make it understandable between this player and this player. Matter of fact, the whole defense, that if the number 3 goes on an out pattern, you take the out and the safety will take the number 1 vertical, right? And the reason why I say the entire defense needs to know that is because the player playing man-to-man with this guy would know in that instance, if this guy goes out, he has to know that the safety's not over the top anymore if he's man-to-man with him. I'm sorry. I don't want to make this confusing. Man-to-man, man-to-man, man-to-man. So this corner here needs to know the call as well, even though he's not involved in the call. Because if the number 3 here goes on an out pattern, if he goes out, I'm not just giving you an example, and this guy goes up, and we call 2-man, say we call cover 2-man, you're deep half, you're deep half, but then we attach a code word to it. Cover 2-man, ice cream. It can be anything. Maybe that's the code word we call to where, hey, if they come out in trips like this, then that code word tells this guy, if number 3 goes on an out pattern, then you're going to take that route. And that would inform the safety here. You're not playing deep half in that responsibility when number 3 runs out. you keep your eyes on number 3 too. If he runs out, then you have to take the number 1 over the top. The reason why the corner playing man-to-man and this guy has to know that is because if number 3 runs out, then he needs to understand that he doesn't have help over the top because the safety's manning the number 1 on the vertical route, right? So he has to play that a little bit differently. That would be an example of calling man-to-man defense that can match certain routes on what's transpiring. So what did I do on that play? I had this guy, we called cover 1, but what I did was, because I know that he's probably going to run that corner pattern, and I man-to-man with him, outside leverage here, how about we take him and we man him up on this guy from where he is. So I went to this player here, and I manned him up on this player, right? The number 3. So when he runs this corner pattern, we are way outside over here. We have outside leverage on that route, and it's disguised really hard, right? So when he runs up the field, he's going to man up and run up the field as well. And when he runs the corner, I was hoping that he would turn and run with the corner and have outside leverage on that route. And that's essentially what happened, right? Now, again, so you may say, well, what about the number 1? You took him off to man him the number 3. Well, then I took the safety and I manned him up on the number 1. So the number 1, essentially, I think he ran that clear out route, but our safety was man-to-man with that route. He wasn't playing deep half. Okay? So, and the reason why this was so good is because this guy is still man-to-man with them. So the play art will look something like this. And then this player right here, I don't know if you can see him, was man-to-man with the number 2. That's what it looked like. So when he ran up the field, at the snap, the user's going to see this player here turning to try to run with that and seeing, oh, he's out leveraged again. He's in man-to-man defense. I can throw the corner. It was bait, right? And then he threw that corner route right to our guy here. So that's what I did with the play. The reason why it doesn't really, simulate real man-to-man defense that matches into route distribution defense is because no matter what, if this guy runs the corner route, then this guy still is going to defend that route. What I would want and what they should have in the game is different calls you can make to where, we're going to do the same thing what I did with the number 3. If number 3 runs a corner, then this guy takes him on that corner route. I would want the logic to where, hey, you're man-to-man with the number 3 if he runs vertical or inside. If he runs anything outside, you're not man-to-man with him anymore. I would have another rule built into this guy to know, hey, when he runs out, then you can, maybe buzz and play hook curl, right? Or, drop inside, or maybe double the tight end on the weak side, right? You would have certain rules built in to where, hey, when this guy runs that, you were originally man-to-man, but since he runs a particular route, you don't have to man him anymore because we have someone to take that route who will be in a better position to defend that route, right? And that's what Nick Saban, I think he called, like, for instance, he has something called cover 5 Cougar. So cover 5, I think, is just where it's just man-to-man. It's like what you would call two-man. But the Cougar is the word he used to where, 3, 2, 1. You got deep half. Maybe this guy's man-to-man and he's man-to-man with him. So like cover 5 Cougar, you're man-to-man with him, but if the number 2 runs out, then this guy just takes the number 2. And because he understands the call too, if number 2 runs out, you're not man-to-man with number 2 anymore. You're buzzing to the number 1 over the top, knowing that you have safety help, right? That would be like a palms check, right? But we didn't come out in cover 4 quarters palms. We didn't come out in cover 2 trap. We came out in man-to-man defense with that call implemented in, right? I'm just giving you examples. I'm not saying that that's exactly the way they have called. It's just an example of how we can have a man-to-man defense that matches certain routes and what they do to better defend certain routes. And that's something, dude, I would call that type of stuff like that would be my core defense. A man-to-man defense that matches certain routes. And I would have all types of calls to defend and how I want things, defended. And of course, there would be weaknesses in it, right? So what if this guy were to run up the field on the same thing we just called, and he ran like a corner, and then he faked the corner and ran like a deep post, So this guy would come up the field. He would see, okay, he's running outside. So now I buzz inside. And this guy be running up. Okay, he's running the corner. So I'm ready to defend that outside leverage. Well, now he's deep middle of the field because he faked the corner and now he's going up the. I mean, there's a ton of different things you can do. You know, you would have to deal with the run fits and the defense. You know, all that. You know, I'm just giving you an example. Let's go ahead and run it. I've probably been talking way too much. But as you see, and I wanted to user this guy. Okay, here's another thing. We can build something in to where we kind of get something close to what we wanted if we user this guy. Because the computer doesn't have the logic built in, but you can be the logic. So where I had this guy, and when this guy runs the corner, I can stop, let him go, and then move back inside and play deep middle because I know my outside corner, I have a man-to-man with that route, right? But again, because the game doesn't have the actual logic built in the game, what if he doesn't run the corner, he runs like a deep post? Well, now this guy's kind of wasted because he's man-to-man, he's going to run all the way across with the post. Of course, we would defend inside on that route, but this guy's wasted. You know, this is why having that logic built in, a cover man defense that can match would be beneficial because if he runs a post, well, then you wouldn't defend, you wouldn't run with it. You'd be like, okay, he didn't run the outside route, so you're staying with the number one, right? At the snap, you climb up the field with your eyes on the number 3 while riding with this guy. If he runs a post, well, then you're not defending that. You're going to stick with the number 1, that sort of thing, because you know your guy has inside leverage on that route. He's in better position. You know, it's a play. Man match can be different things you can throw at it to where you eliminate the problems of being out leveraged and you can bait your opponents into throwing interceptions, which is what he did. So as you see here, right here, he sees, oh, man to man, oh, outside leverage, oh, I'm throwing that corner again as I did earlier. And he threw it, and no, it's an interception. And if you remember in the call, I was this guy over here because the camera was messed up. So we run it again. I think I ran it 2 more times. So another weakness of that is this guy's one-on-one up the field. You know, and that's what I love about football. It's not like you can do something like this and, oh, it's invincible. No, it's weaknesses in it. But, you know, if you call it at the right time, you do it. And, I mean, this is me boning this guy hard. This is me telling him, I knew you were going to look for that corner route. I knew you were going to see man-to-man coverage. I knew you were going to see that he was out leveraged. I knew you were going to throw the corner route based upon that, and I boned you because I had something to trap you into throwing that throw. So it's just something I want to throw in there. There's so many different things you can do against 3x1 sets, 2x2 sets with this type of logic. The only problem is we don't have something built in to where they simulate real man-match, man defense. But this is something you can just throw in there. And, you know, I've been tinkering with it and trying to figure out a way to where I can almost do this, you know, 70% of the time. That's what I would like to do, you know. But just throwing some tracks at you, and maybe you can get a train and just ride it and see what you can do with it. All right, guys, peace.